Welcome, everyone. My name is Jacob. Thank you for joining me. This is Hunt Detail, and hope you're having a great season. We're getting into late October. This is where things really start to get on fire. And today we're going to go through my run and gun setup as it relates to my vehicle. Of course, I'm going to talk about hunting gear, but it's all really predicated on me living in a van down by the river, so to speak, where everything is with me. I can just go, go, go. If I can get out of work early, if I can come into work late, I want to get a sit in. If I decide to take a day off, if I decide to hunt somewhere different from morning to evening, hunt all day, whatever. I want to be prepared for a lot of different scenarios because I don't want to waste time. The next 6 weeks are really important and a lot of fun, but it's only good if you stay in the field, if you're in the woods, and you're in the game. And so I'm going to go through some of the things as it relates to how I set up my vehicle, and some other dynamics. And some of this stuff you may be familiar with, some of it you may not, but it's always fun to go through your gear list and say, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that," or I need to get that, or I need to grab that. So we'll get into that in a moment. In I did get out last Friday evening for an out of state sit. It was semi-productive. I invited my dad. He went with me. It's big woods, public land, and there's an area where I killed a buck last year with my bow, 30 yards, great buck, and wanted to really investigate that spot again. Now, I had done a lot of in-season scouting last year. This ridge system that sort of comes down to this creek seems to have a lot of traffic up and down, and I'm assuming there's a lot of bedding in certain areas along there. It might be a function of acorns as well, but I he cut. If you think about a main creek running sort of east and west, this ridge system that we're hunting is facing the south. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's actually facing the north, coming from the south. And of course, anytime you have a main creek system, you often have little creeks that sort of run, little drainages run down into that and feed into that main creek. And there's one particular point that almost touches the creek itself. He had a huge scrape in it last year. I mean, looked like somebody had a backhoe or something. It was pretty cool. I didn't see it this year, but he broke. If you think about a point, he broke to I guess the left side. If you're looking at the point, the left side of the point, along one of the feeder creeks that feed into this large creek. I kept going along the creek, going east, I believe, or west. I don't know. I can't remember. It must be west. Yeah, headed west along that creek, and I cut up the other side of that same point. And that's actually where I killed my buck last year. I wanted to see if there was a scrape there, and sure enough, it was. And sure enough, it had seen some attention. And so I hunted downwind of that scrape where he hunted maybe, as the crow flies, 100 and plus yards or something from me. Actually, it was probably quite a bit more now that I think about it. Probably maybe 300 or 400 yards. But ultimately, a buck came down that ridge in between us, and he shot at it, missed, and clean miss, thank goodness. But it was exciting. I'm glad he got an opportunity. I think I had a buck downwind of me blow at me and take off, but so that's unfortunate. But it was a good evening, and I went out again over the weekend on Saturday morning, and it was more of a, I don't know. I had some extra time and I just couldn't stay home. So I went out, and it was a bit of a dud. There was a small buck I saw. I was hunting on the ground. I had a bad wind, and I hate hunting in a bad wind, but I wanted to hunt this small piece of private. and a small buck would have been, easy shot, but just obviously not what I'm after um, at this point. And so, uh, but again, I think things are really going to heat up over the next few weeks, and I would encourage you to really think about what your schedule looks like in the next 6 weeks. Think about how think ways you can offload things if possible, and get clear your calendars, if you will, and get ready. Um, Before we get into that, I have some news that Trophy Rock is now a partner, and what they have, and it's not sort of too late for these sorts of things. For the Trophy Rock, they have a the traditional Trophy Rock, which we're really all familiar with, which is I think about a 12-pound rock that you find in your store and you're hunting, whether it's Bass Pro or whatever. They have a product called 465, and it's more granular mineral, and it comes in a bag. They have Apple 465, which is a more, again, granular but has an apple flavor. They have liquid Trophy Rock, which you can buy as I guess it's not a compressed, but a concentrate, and it's more like it's kind of like a molasses. And the idea is that you buy the concentrate, you pour this on top of your Trophy Rock or your granular, your 465, and it sort of activates it. And personally, I haven't used the liquid Trophy Rock and I haven't used the granular. I've used the regular Trophy Rock for years and years and years, and big fan of that. So now, if you use the code JCoons, COONS 15 at I'm sorry, it's Redmond Hunt, Redmond Hunt, REDMONDHUNT.com. You're going to save 15%. And it's, again, great products, stuff that you've probably used before. And they are part of the Redmond Life company, redmond.life.com. And if you go there, you can say with the code detail, you can actually save 15% on Relight, the electrolyte mix. You can save it on the seasonings, the salts. They have a lot of stuff. I mean, they have a lot of lifestyle products there, and they're all, it's made in the USA. It comes out of Utah. It's great stuff. And so I just wanted to let you know about that. And then lastly, we've got Raw Rev. Raw Rev makes protein bars. They're delicious. 12 to 13 grams of protein, 2 to 3 grams of sugar. They're peanut butter based, and they're great for all day sits, for that mid morning snack or that mid afternoon snack. They're delicious, and you're not dumping a bunch of sugar in your body. So let's talk about you'll save 20% using the code detail with at Raw Rev on your first order only. So make it a big order. So let's talk about what I've got in my car. Now, I want to start with the car itself during the whitetail season, during the rut. I always have Fix-A-Flat. I have a jump kit. Now, Fix-A-Flat will ruin your tires, by the way. So if you're going to use it, make sure you're comfortable with having to replace that tire. They won't fix a tire or can't fix a tire that has been sprayed with Fix-A-Flat. But there is a jump kit that I have. It's a battery that also, can work as a portable charger, but it's really designed to work as a jump to your car, and you won't need another car to jump it. And that's really nice to be able to just like, okay, something's wrong with my battery. I'm going to jump it with this jump kit. I think the kit maybe costs $50. My wife has everything that I have in my car, she has in her car. and I need her to be able to, if she has a situation, to be able to resolve it on her own sometimes, because I may not have cell service. And so the other thing is a tire pump. It's you pump it in, you put it into your cigarette lighter adapter, which is weird, but those things still exist. And you can pump up your tire. So let's say you do fix a flat, and then it works, and you need a tire pump to get it back up to a full setting. You've got your tire pump. Obviously, your spare tire, you want to make sure that that's in good shape. You want to make sure you have all the tools to change a tire should you need to. Um, Sometimes I'll keep a little bit of a thing of oil in my wife's car. I know it does burn oil. Maybe I'll check the antifreeze, check the oil uh, quite often, quite honestly. And I think it's just really critical if you have things at home that need to be done, like if you have appliances, I've mentioned this before, if you have things that really need to get replaced, maybe it's a hot water heater, maybe it's your fridge is acting weird, your microwave. Sometimes it's best to just bite the bullet and just get it done because, if it's November 10th, or a cold front comes through and you really have an opportunity to get out, are you really gonna wanna have to stop and deal with something like that? Same thing with your wife's car. Maybe it's due for an oil change, maybe it's due for some other type of work. It's good to just get that stuff out of your life. So I wanted to start there. Now from a gear standpoint, I obviously have my saddle kit. I have my pack with sticks and platforms. I tend to not leave electronics like or optics. Like my rangefinder, I try to keep it in the house. I mean, unless the temperatures outside have truly stabilized and are not either freezing or 105 degrees. I just know that, heat and temperature, that sort of stuff, it can really mess with optics. It can mess with your electronics, and it certainly can mess with your bow. So I would encourage you not to leave your bow out in your car because it's going to screw that. If it gets really hot, the strings are going to stretch. It'll mess up everything. But I tend to keep a lot of things in the car. Um, within my saddle kit, I have on me a grunt tube. I have um, a milkweed dispenser. I'll have some pruning shears so I can just sort of cut away some limbs if I need to cut a shooting lane, or to make sure that I don't make sure I'm quiet and not disturbing limbs as I move around a tree. I'll have some face paint in there, a little thing of face paint, maybe some doe urine, and a pocket knife, and I think that's pretty much it in terms of what's on me. In my pack, I definitely have a raw rev bar, maybe some other, maybe an RX bar. I'll have a little bottle of water. I carry it in a metal bottle that I've taped up with black tape because I don't like the crinkle of plastic bottles, and I don't like drinking out of plastic. Period. I'd rather drink out of a metal bottle. Um, I'll have a card reader, an SD card reader in my pack. My phone doesn't the port on it isn't working properly, so I have to look at cards, SD cards on a reader. I'll have my kill kit, maybe some Tyveks, so that I can lay things down if I want to quarter the deer. I'll have a sheet of Tyvek. Um, I'll have a little bit of a safety kit in there, some like uh, I don't know, bleed stop sort of stuff, band-aids, just in case I cut myself. Maybe yeah, mostly that like that gauze, maybe just in case I accidentally cut myself in the gutting or processing of a deer. And then I'll have a battery pack that I can recharge my phone with, because I'm just, obviously using it for mapping purposes, but for other things. I'll have some TP, stuff like that. That's pretty much all that's in my pack. Now, in my vehicle, I'll have extra trail cams. I may have a trail cam in my pack. I probably will have an SD camera in my pack. I'll have extra Energizer batteries, the lithium ion batteries, some extra SD cards, the Python lock with keys. I'll have some Evercalm, which is that deer dander. I'll have some spotlights if I do need them to search for a wounded animal. I'll have an extra set of rattling antlers. I think I do have a little pack and rack thing in my saddle, as well as a little doe bleat can in my saddle. I'll have rattling antlers in the vehicle. I'll have extra grunt tubes, because it seems like a grunt tube always gets yanked out of my pack or saddle on some level. Extra layers will be in the car. Maybe I need an extra hoodie, or long underwear, or a pair of thicker pants, or something based on the temperature. I'll have some hand warmers, some wipes for obvious reasons. Maybe like a small ozone generator that I bought from HME, Honey Made Easy. It's potentially, if I want to sort of uh, uh, descent some of my clothing after a long time. I'll have a bone saw in there if I need to saw maybe the antlers off or something like that. I'll have extra battery packs for my cameras, and as I mentioned, a battery pack for other electronics like my phone. I'll have another safety kit that actually has a little bit more stuff in there, like a splint. Um, there's some other if something really went wrong, I would have some extra some other things in that safety kit. I have my kill kit, which is obviously going to be in my pack. I do have a frame pack that I've used out west to pack out elk, and you can have sort of you can take off the backpack thing and put on a meat rack, if you will, or a meat. Yeah, I guess it's a meat rack. And so if I want to break down a buck and quarter it in the field, obviously I can skin it, put the quarters on that sheet of Tyvek, put them in game bags, which I also have in my car, and then pack it out in that frame pack. And so I mentioned the game bags. I always have those. I do have extra milkweed. I'll have tree hooks. I do like to use nose jammer from time to time. It's sort of a vanilla smell, and that really can be a nice cover scent. And I'll have an extra knife in the car as well, should I need it for whatever reason. It's one of those things like knives and flashlights. Like I'll have an extra headlamp. That's actually one of the things I do put in my pack. Is I carry the Peaks headlamps, and I like them not only because they are very bright. They go up to 1,000, I guess, lumens, and then the red light on it is pretty much the brightest in the market. It's IPX7, I think, in terms of waterproofness. If you hold the on button down for 4 seconds, it'll lock. So if you have one in your pack and one on you, and if something happens to the one on you, you have the other one, you can pull it out. It's been locked, so it wasn't accidentally on the whole time. And it's not like it's heavy, so I'll always have an extra headlamp floating around. And like I said, it's almost like if I have knives and lights, I feel pretty good about my situation. Now, in some cases, I will bring my jet boil. I'll bring a dehydrated meal, and of course, I always have relight, save 15% with the code detail. Because sometimes if I am going to do an all day hunt, if I have the jet boil in there along with a canister of fuel, I can, if I want to get down, take a break, go back to the vehicle, make a meal, make a hot meal, make some hot tea, uh, sort of refuel, and then decide, okay, do I want to go back up there? Do I want to pivot? That sort of thing. It's nice to have that and not feel like I have to go drive 25 minutes to go find a McDonald's or whatever. I'd rather eat a dehydrated meal at my vehicle and not have to go anywhere. The other thing is that I will sometimes pack an extra release, bring a an extra rangefinder, bring my portable bow press and some strings. Now that's a little much. If it's a local hunt, I'm probably not going to bring my bow press and strings, but when I go far out of state, like I did with the South Dakota hunt, I brought that stuff because if I'm in the middle of nowhere and if something happens to my bow, I want to be able to repair it in the field. Yeah, it's going to set me back half a day. I'll have had a target with me, and okay, I'll change all that stuff, get it all set up, shoot it, re-sight it in the field. But I mean, that's, let's say, 4 to 6 hours at most. It's an afternoon or a morning. But if that's something happens to my bow and I don't have any of that stuff, that's 2 to 3 days, or maybe not even, um, maybe it's the end of the hunt, honestly, because you find a bow shop that's 4 hours away or 3 hours away. They're busy as all get out, and it's going to take them a couple days to get to, fixing your bow. And that's often why I take a backup bow with me on those trips. So that's another option too. If you're going somewhere that's not close to home, where it's like mission critical that you are able to have your bow available, then I'll take I would encourage you to take a backup bow, even if it's like your son or daughter's bow, just in case, something that you could easily set up to your needs. Maybe you crank it up from 50 pounds to 70 pounds. You recite the whole thing in. You're able to shoot out the 35, 40. You feel good about that. And that's obviously an option. And I stress that a lot because this time of year is so precious. It goes so quick. I mean, in 8 weeks, it will be late December. It'll almost be Christmas. And, the rut will be over. And this time of year, we'll be looking forward to next year. So enjoy it. Have fun. We'll talk again next week. And when you can, give this podcast a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify or whatever platform you're listening on. Really appreciate your all's time and support. And we'll talk again next week. Thanks again.